for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today's Tuesday, December 26th. 360 days into the new year, just 5 days left, everyone. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Happy Boxing Day. Got to get that out, right? So, yes, we have a post-Christmas gift, Boxing Day gift, because tonight's very special guest, Steven Bassett, is here of the Paradigm Research Group, and he's over in London right now, so it's Boxing Day for him. It might even be, it's post-Boxing Day, I think, for Steven, because today is tomorrow. And tonight we're going to discuss Disclosure 2.0. He's been pushing this agenda for many, many, many years. And so tonight we're going to talk about where we are today with Disclosure. Tomorrow night, so excited, radio host Lisa Garr is joining us. And we're going to talk about Awakening in 2018. Lisa is great. You know, she hosts with me over at Coast to Coast. And she has her show, The Awakening Show. So there you go. That'll be tomorrow night. Thursday night, very special show. It's a Fader night. And we're going to have John Rappaport here with his No More Fake Newsroom live, followed by Open Lines with special guest astrologer Jeff Harmon is back with us. We're going to take a look at 2018, make some predictions, take some of your phone calls, maybe read some chats for you Fader-knots, and that'll be Thursday night. All right. Man, here we are. Did you have a great Christmas? I know that all around the country it's snowing, and it is snowing a lot. So I hope that you did have a white Christmas. I spoke to my family back in Indianapolis yesterday. My mom said, you know, I've got something here that you don't got. And I said, palm trees? No, we got snow. So it snowed in Indy. And they had a white Christmas yesterday. So I know it's chilly and there's a lot of snow around the country. But you know what? It's part of what we do, man. It's a white Christmas out there. It's post-Boxing Day in Oz, Mark Tarana just said. Yeah, Boxing Day. Boxing Day started in 1871. And if I'm wrong with these dates, okay, but basically made an official holiday in 1871, and it was and I remember, you know, I had to study up on my Boxing Day history a few years ago, you know, so it was kind of for the elite, if you think about it. So they did Christmas, right? And so all of the people that had to work on Christmas, the servants and, whoever had to work on Christmas, the next day would get boxes of gifts and to take home, leftover food, gifts, and bonuses and things like that. And so that was in 1871. And then you have Scotland and you have Ireland and of course Australia and New Zealand and Canada, all adopting it around that time and some much afterwards. But nonetheless, it's a big day. It's a big day. Boxing Day is a big day. So happy Boxing Day out there. For those around the world and, here in the United States, we know about Boxing Day. We hear about Boxing Day, but we don't know really what it means. And we hear about it, but there you go. That's my abbreviated version of it. That's my edited version of what Boxing Day is. Okay? All right, and I hope I got it pretty close. I'm not reading from Wikipedia right now. Okay, so happy Boxing Day, everybody. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Join in on the conversation. And we had this week hasn't stopped for us. We took off for Christmas, but I was over at Coast Friday and Saturday, 2 great nights over there. And so for those of you that are listening into the show for the first time tonight, welcome. And you're probably following us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You want to use hashtag F2B, and that is the sandbox, and then I'll see everything, right there. And Scott T. Richard says, yo, Jimmy, my folks are from Speedway. Yes. Speedway, Indiana, home of the Indianapolis 500. And what was I? So this week on the show, Steven Bassett tonight, tomorrow night, Lisa Garr, Thursday night's Fader night. Then Friday, I'm back over at Coast, and Richard Dolan is my guest. It's open lines, and I may have a couple of surprises that I'm lining up right now for the end of the year, December 29th, and that'll be Friday over at Coast. So come over and hang out with us. And then we go into the New Year's weekend. And for us, my family, our family, Reid and I, New Year's is a big, big deal. And we always have fun. So we'll keep up with you in social media, and we'll let you know what's going on there. But we really do a real New Year's thing. And for those out there that have maybe hung out with us on New Year's, you know what I'm talking about. All right. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black. Everything says official. It's got a check mark next to it. So go follow, like, and subscribe. I just mentioned the sandbox on Twitter, hashtag F2B. We don't bite. All right. Any questions or comments during the show, use hashtag F2BQ. And there you go. Hey, Jimmy, what did you get Rita for Christmas? Man, that's up to Rita. She went to New York. She went to New York with my daughter while I stayed at home with the dogs. We had an amazing Christmas. Thank you for asking, by the way. Okay. Our next event, it's coming up next month. I cannot believe I am uttering these words. Well, sort of next month in 5 weeks. Conscious Life Expo, February 9th through the 12th, 2018 at the LAX Hilton. And Lisa Garr, who's going to be with us tomorrow night, she'll be at the Conscious Life Expo. We've had so many guests on recently, like I'll just bring up a few names, like David Wilcock and Linda Moulton Howe, William Henry, Jay Widener, Corey Good. Who else can I mention here? They're all going to be at the Conscious Life Expo. Okay, and so much more. It's a great weekend. Click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com for the Conscious Life Expo, and all of the information that you need is there. Okay? All right. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We have over 775 archive shows, custom apps, Apple, Android, everything that you need is right there. It's very simple. Just go over to the Apple Store, go to Google, and download our apps, and then head straight over and get your account. $2 a month, 775 archive shows. There you go. Also, you can become a Fadernaut over in our membership section, where you could, if you want, and get the bunker cam. If you want, you can get commercial-free downloadable archives, commercial-free, and you can even get autographed hats and T-shirts and all of that fun stuff. Just go over to the membership section. Great gift, too, as well. All of our sponsors here, especially, check this out, Life Change Tea, River Moon Coffee, and New Pharma are all going to be at the Conscious Life Expo. So you can come over and meet all of those celebrities. You can meet Chip Paul. You can meet Ronnie McMullen. You can meet Juanita and Jeff from River Moon Coffee. They're all going to be there at the Conscious Life Expo. And support the show by visiting all of our sponsors here. I'm going to say, everybody's getting colds right now. It's going around. Not me. Nope. I take all of my stuff. I take my pine bark. I take my foundation. I take my CBD, 1,000 milligram cinnamon, ancient life oil. I take my moringa. Where's my New Pharma? My New Pharma is missing. Here it is. There's my Relax. I take my Relax from New Pharma. I love that. And, of course, Relief from New Pharma, the best thing for headaches in the entire world, right there. And foundation. This is my favorite. I take the foundation. I take all of these every single day. Look at that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drops that I take every single day. Plus, I have been pounding the Coral Sea all week. I take it all the time, but I'm making sure that I am up on my vitamin C, and I feel great. I'm just saying. Ronnie McMullen said to me one time from Life Change Tea, he said, you'll never get sick again. I was like, dude, I haven't been sick. I haven't gotten a cold since Ronnie McMullen has been part of Fade to Black. And you need to think about that. Now we have Chip Paul. Oh, it's all good around here. And then you combine all of that with River Moon Coffee, right? And don't forget about New Manna Food Storage. And use the promo code Jimmy and spend $100. You get a free autographed T-shirt. All right, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Metallica stickman Lars Ulrich is 54 years old. Jared Leto, pretty good singer, by the way, is 46 years old. I'm a front man of 30 Seconds to Mars. But he was really good. If you haven't seen it, check out Suicide Squad. I remember I got to the end of the movie. I'm like, who is that dude? Rita's like, that's Jared Leto. Really? Man, Jared can act. He's pretty good. He's a good singer, too, as well. 46 years old today. Also, Kit Harington. Remember that guy? Kit Harington today is 31. Plays Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, which we've virtually forgotten about because it's going to be another probably 2 years before Game of Thrones is back. And I remember when Sopranos would do that. You get to the season finale, and, Sopranos will be back in 2 years. You're like, oh, man, I can't wait that long. Year and a half, 2 years. And that's what Game of Thrones is doing. And it's their last season, right? Is that what we're at now? Is it the last of everything? Kit Harington? It's going to end here quickly. Happy birthday, Jared Leto. That's coming in from Karen. Jordan's got Lars Ulrich. So Jordan has got Lars up here with a gift in Twitter, and Karen's got Jared Leto. That says a lot right there. Love the Fadernauts. On this day in history, 1946, big day. Bugsy Siegel opens the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it was a failure, right? There was thunderstorm. It was just it was the bad weekend to open. And he lost $300,000. that weekend. He lost $300,000 in 1946 money. That's a big loss. But it was the kickstart of what we know today as Las Vegas and the Strip. Fader facts. Right now, listen to this. Over 3/4 of U.S. workers use social media at work, regardless of any rules put in place by their employers. A bunch of rebels here in the United States. I'd imagine it's probably a pretty close to being the same number all around the world. 3/4, 75% are using social media at work. There you go. We wonder about productivity. Tonight, very special guest from the UK, Steven Bassett of the Paradigm Research Group is here. Disclosure kicked off in a big way last week, December 16th, 2017, and we will be discussing all of that tonight with Steven Bassett. Tomorrow night, Lisa Garr is here from the Awake Show, and also co-host with me over at Coast to Coast AM. She'll be here tomorrow night talking about what to do with Awakening in 2018. Thursday night, though, is a very special Fader night, and we're going to have John Rappaport here with the No More Fake Newsroom, of course, but and open lines, of course, but we're going to have special guest astrologer Jeff Harmon will be joining the show. Now, talking about disclosure, let me hit this River Moon because I'm about to go off. Disclosure. December 16th, 2017. That's a big day. That's a really big day. And it wasn't for me. We have to really take a close look at what happened, because we had 2 videos released from the FA-18. We had a pilot go on the record that was in that plane, Dave Fravor, and that was big stuff. And I'm going to break some of this down here in just a bit, but for Dave Fravor, 18-year veteran, he said 17 years, 18 years, pilot, 3,500 hours of flight time, seen everything in the world, knows what's going on. He had described this. There are people out there that are trying to pick this video apart, saying it's a drone. It's not a drone. And if anybody out there that is looking at this video, I don't care who it is. I do not care who the name is. I don't care what status is behind them. Clearly, that is not a drone. But if anybody out there that is talking about that video and saying it isn't what it is, it's CGI, it's fake audio, it's not this, it's not, it has not gone back and done the research and looked into this video and looked at some of the original documentation that has been out there on the net about this for quite a long time. Dave Fravor and his wingman have gone public with this for a while. There are color pictures out there of what the object is. He has always described it as a white tic-tac, the size of his airplane. Not a drone, nothing with wings, nothing like that. No. Okay, so I need to silence that part of it. But there's more, because we have Dave Fravor, we have his wingmen, we have the flight control officers, we have the Nimitz, we have all of that. But then there's Luis Elizondo, who was running this secret Pentagon program. Now, up until December 16, 2017, we had the press conference, we had the release from To the Stars, and the live event that they did to announce To the Stars and the selling of stock for the company. But Luis Elizondo then stepped up. We knew his name. We knew what was going on. But that he was part of this disclosure. Last week, he was on all of the mainstream media doing interviews. And so that's it's a small part of what happened last week. Because then we had the release of the Pentagon secret UFO program, $22 million program. There are some that are saying it was $22 million per year, not $22 million over the 5 years, or what have. It doesn't matter. The point is, we didn't know about the program. There's nobody out there that knew about the program before last week. So don't say that you did. We have had different researchers out there talking about the secrecy of the Pentagon. Sure. That these programs were never shut down. Sure. Under another name. Sure. We knew the special access programs. Yes. Of course. Yes. But nobody out there knew about this program going on. So that was a big deal last week. Why is it a big deal? It's because the Pentagon, the military, the president, the Oval Office, all of Washington said the same thing. There's nothing to see here. Move along. And as it turns out, there was a lot to see. So last week was a big, big deal. Okay? And then there's Harry Reid. Harry Reid. Okay, the Senate Majority Leader. Didn't know about that. Nobody did. Okay, last week was a very, very big deal. Then there's Bigelow and his involvement with this. Look, I'm here to tell that this comes on the heels of his 60 Minutes interview. He didn't say anything about this in the 60 Minutes interview. He had his game face on. He said the aliens are here. He doesn't need proof of anything. There was that. You know, he's a billionaire saying this. That was big news, right? Okay, all right. But nothing was disclosed. Not until last week. It has the whole UFO community right now tipped upside down. Okay? There was so much for every segment here, every researcher. Everybody's got a little piece of something. You've got every photo and video expert chiming in. You've got all of those pilots out there and whistleblowers and guys that were in the military. They're stepping in, commenting on this. You've got all those CIA government types and whistleblowers commenting on this. You know, of course, we've got the political side of things. We've got a full dose of politics here. So we've got that. All of this is being discussed inside of the UFO community. Everybody got their taste. Every segment of this has gotten something to feed on, and I love it. Okay? All right? Now, but that's not where I'm going right now. Then there was what might be the best part and the most overlooked. And that's the warehouse in Vegas with the ET stuff in it. And it's like, wait a minute here. What's in this article? What is the New York Times saying? A warehouse, right? Now we have some questions. Let's go through this. Artifacts, metals, plastics. Where did it come from? You're suggesting ET. Where did it come from? This is something that we all need to set up. A video from a Navy pilot is one thing, and it's good. The video is great. But now we are talking about hardware. We are talking about something physical. Where did it come from? Did it come from a famous case? Are we talking about Roswell, right? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. Is it from an unknown case? Was there something crashed, something downed, right, that we're not aware of? And they have that. Think about this for a second. Is it from a crash? Was it given to us? Right? Was it a gift? It reminds me of that movie with Jim Belushi. It's coming to mind right now. Was it a gift? Right? Did E.T. drop it while he was running from the Men in Black? I don't know. You know, is it a gun? Is it an ID card? I don't know. Some spare change from the pocket of E.T., from his clothes. Is it a bag? I don't know. Is it clothes? I don't know. I don't know. But to suggest that there is a warehouse with ET stuff in it, that is where we need to be laser focused. because all of these questions now need to be jumped into. All of it. All of it. I want to know. And if they're okay, look, let's be direct here. If it's from Roswell, and it very well could be, if it is from Roswell, and that's going to close the book on Roswell right now, we need to know this. We need to know it. If it's from another case that we don't know absolutely anything about, there has been, and we can talk about Corona and Aztec. There's that. There's the famous case over in Germany. Well, not famous. It's a case over in Germany that we don't, There have been a few reported cases of crashed saucers across the United States. Is it from Antarctica? I don't know. But is it from a case that we don't know anything about? And the government has said all of these years, there's nothing to see here. Keep walking. They closed Project Blue Book. And when we have a situation where it is going to cause more, I've got Steven Bassett. Hey, Steven, I'm live on the air, man. I'm going to call you in 3 minutes. Stand by. Steven Bassett calling in. He'll be here in a few short minutes. I should just call him right now so he can just sit on hold. Why don't we do that? And this is where the governments is going to have to stand up and start admitting to things from the past. And I think that is the most crucial thing here. And Stephen, just stay right there. Stay right there. You're on hold. And say and admit to different things. And I'm not so sure if the comfort level is there for them to do this now. Or, and we'll be talking with Stephen right after the break about this, or is this something that they are not in control of, right? Having to release this video and having this other stuff, with Reid and the Pentagon program, is this because there's other things that are about to come out? And I think that is the most crucial thing here. I think all of us need to step back a little bit here, take a deep breath, and get ready for the next round. I don't know where it's going to come from. I don't. And I know there are those of you out there that think I'm privy to information. I'm not. I would like to say that I know something and we can, launch this on the show in the future. I don't have that. I don't have that information. I do know that my gut feeling here is that they are trying to stay out in front of this before it does spin out of control, because there is stuff around the world. The United States doesn't have the exclusivity on the UFO question. We have countries around the world with vast amounts of real estate like Russia and China. And then you have all of South America with Brazil and Argentina and Chile. We have all of Mexico. We have Canada that could be sitting on this information too as well. That may be at the point where they just want to get out there and put this ET agenda behind us. It could be all of those things. I don't know. These are exciting times. That's why tonight our guest, Steven Bassett, who is live from the UK. Steven has been pushing for this, not only on this show and with me over at Coast 2 as well, but pushing for this for a very long time. His take, what is going on with all of this, is just as important as anybody's take. And we're going to do all of that tonight with you. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Steven Bassett, Paradigm Research Group. This is it. Disclosure 2.0. We're in phase 2. Our guest tonight, Steven Bassett. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Steven at Steve Bassett. We have all of that up on Twitter. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Natural Health Solutions with Chris and Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Great, Chris.
Now, you're the CEO of GetTheTea.com, right?
Yes, I am.
What is GetTheTea.com? I mean, is this tea you buy in a store?
Well, no, it's not. Life Change Tea is just that. Life-changing. Life Change Tea is an herbal tea that gently cleanses your body from intruders.
What do you mean by intruders?
Well, intruders are toxins, chemicals, GMOs, heavy metals, and more. They're in our food, in our water, in our air we breathe.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
And Life Change Tea will help you with removing these, as you say, intruders?
That's right, Chris.
Are there side effects with this tea?
Well, you might lose a little weight. When you clean your colon, you lose weight, you feel better, and you have more energy.
Wow. Ronnie, where can people purchase Life Change Tea?
Oh, that's easy. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Ronnie, I want to thank you for being on the show. People, don't forget, GetTheTea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet. Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Steven at Steve Bassett. It's right there on Twitter. We've got the links up. Let's do this. Steven Bassett is the executive director of Paradigm Research Group, founded back in 1996 to end government-imposed embargoes on the truth behind the so-called UFO phenomenon. Stephen has spoken to audiences around the world about the implications of formal disclosure by world governments of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. He has given over 1,000 radio and television interviews, including many right here on Fade to Black. PRG's advocacy work has been extensively covered by national and international media. In 2013, PRG produced I am tongue-tied right now. A citizen hearing on disclosure at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. On November 5th, 2014, PRG launched a congressional hearing political initiative seeking the first hearings on Capitol Hill since 1968. regarding the extraterrestrial presence issue and working to see that the issue included in the ongoing presidential campaign. Tonight, we're going to discuss disclosure, all of it. We're going to go back to December 16, 2017, and what that date meant to the world and how we now move forward. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Mr. Steven Bassett. Steve, good evening.
Good evening from London, Jimmy. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, it's great to have you back with us. You've got me all tongue-tied, Steve, and these are exciting times.
Yes, they are. This is going to be an interesting next year, 2018.
What did you make of? Let's actually go back to that moment when the whirlwind started last Saturday. Take me through that emotionally. What were you feeling?
That's a good question. I've been at this now about 21 years. And over those 21 years, actually, you could say that going back to 1947, there have been a number of moments when things could break on this issue, meaning that the government policy of truth embargo would be forced to end. But they all fell short. It's like trying to get through that big door at the end of the moat on a castle with a battering ram. You hit it 20 times, it doesn't break. You hit it 30 times, and then the 45th time, the door gives in and you win. It's kind of like that. So this was another instance of this, and I tried not to get overly excited. I tried to kind of remain chill, and then see how things were going to unfold. As things unfolded, I realized something very profound was going on, and then it was a question of what to do, how to get involved, or at least how to support it, and so forth. So I tried. That's how I reacted to it, Jimmy. I think a lot of people are getting really excited, and I understand that. But believe me, the job is not over. Disclosure has not come. The truth embargo still stands, but now we have something very, very significant to focus on, and we have a program that is being quarterbacked by a fellow named Tom DeLonge, who has the potential to get the ball over the goal line.
The points that were brought out in the New York Times article, it wasn't. This is what is funky to me, Steve, in a good way, though, in a good funkiness, is that it wasn't just the video or Dave Fravor. That right there, we could almost stop the train and go, okay, we have something. But it was an avalanche of information. It was Luis Elizondo, it was the Pentagon and their program, it's Harry Reid, it's Bigelow, it's a warehouse in Vegas. That was a big pile of stuff to start to pick apart and go through.
Sure. I think that your listeners need to consider a couple of things. One, that what happened on the 16th of December was simply the tip of the iceberg. It was the moment. However, a couple of years of work went into that. In other words, something has been going on behind the scenes, or something always is. And now we're starting to get some glimpses of it. Now, I'm doing my best to try to get on top of this, and I do hope to write a very extensive piece on it as the first blog in Paradigm Research Group's new website, which will launch around mid-January. So what I can do, though, for your listeners is give them the larger context on this, so they, as far as I know it now, so that they might get a sense of how powerful it is. Right? So let me do that, if I may, if you have a bit of time.
Absolutely. You're the guest, man. I'm just the dude on the microphone, Steve.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. The two key players here right now, in a sense, I say key. There's a lot of key players here, but you've got Tom DeLonge on one side, who has put together something. He has coordinated. He has done some things, and then you've got Robert Bigelow. And I knew about Tom DeLonge's involvement, but Bigelow's involvement only emerged in a sense recently. I didn't know about it, and that then clarified a lot for me. And so let's go back. First, let me mention that over the years, in 2010, for instance, and then again in 2013 to the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, the witnesses to nuclear weapons tampering, Air Force Base SAC officers, high security clearances like Robert Salas and Shindali and others, as part of the work of Robert Hastings, came forward and testified in press conferences and so forth to the tampering of nuclear weapons by these craft that come down and hover over the SAC bases. This goes back into the 60s. It's been happening a lot. And Hastings, of course, described that very well in his book, UFOs and News. In spite of these testimonies, the government, they didn't respond. They had virtually nothing to say. Oh, some spokesperson might be interacted with and say, well, no, I don't think there's anything to that. The press would write it up, but never followed up. Now, there can't be a better story or a more significant, implicative story than the tampering of our nuclear weapons. No follow-up. But then we have here, what do we have here? We have insiders, recently retired, now getting involved in a formal public project which clearly threatens the truth embargo. What's the difference between now, December 16th, 2017, and the testimony of the nuke witnesses 2010, 2013?
That's the big question. That's the big question. You know, you and I were talking about that earlier this week. That's why now, man. I mean, what is the difference?
That is the $64,000 question. I am going to give you my take, but understand I'm connecting the dots in a picture that's missing a lot of dots, and I'm using my experience and giving you the best sense I have. But that could change. But here is the best answer I have. Something happened. Something changed within the Pentagon and the CIA. In other words, and the NSA is part of this too, but it's not, I mean, it's part of the military intelligence complex, but I don't see it as a player in this particular thing. Call it the military intelligence complex. Something changed. And I believe what changed is that a greater number of individuals that work within these national security structures came to the conclusion, possibly through discussions and meetings, what have you, that the truth embargo needs to end, that it had gone on long enough. And they made a decision to try to get out in front of this issue within the constraints of being, you know, a national security organization whose boss is the President of the United States, and everyone's under non-security oaths of one type or another, and so forth. In other words, how to legally do this. They decided to respond. It's somewhat reminiscent of what happened just before, you know, in the last days of the Soviet Union. And there's a famous story about Gorbachev and Shevardnadze, one of his key aides and advisors and so forth, walking in Moscow somewhere and talking about the whole Cold War and how it had gone on for 40 some years. And they both sort of agreed that it needed to end, that it simply had gone on long enough. And they made a decision to start doing things which could help facilitate the end of this Cold War. And they did. And ultimately the Cold War ended, you know, roughly 1991. It's kind of like that. And then the next question, equally significant, is what would have prompted them? Did anything prompt them, or was it just time, right? It had been going on so long. All right, we'll talk about that. So with that in mind, now let me give you the historical context here with respect to the two, what I call key players, and that's Robert Bigelow and Tom DeLonge. Tom DeLonge first. DeLonge, and boy, I wish I had practiced the guitar more when I was in high school. Tom has always been interested in this issue, going back to his childhood. Why? I don't know. Did he have a sighting? Whatever. Don't know. But he also played the guitar pretty well. He forms a band, Blink-182, and gets deep into music and makes a good deal of money. He formed several bands, including Angels and Airways, and I think they sold at least 28 million records, which is a lot. And so he became essentially independently wealthy. Tom's a pretty straight arrow kind of guy. And unlike some of the rock guys out there, he's led I guess you could say, a more reasonable life. Hasn't wasted his money. I'm sure he saved and invested. And so by the end of, certainly the end of the last century, he was pretty good shape. He was also interested in this issue, and he was one of the earliest supporters of Stephen Greer. I believe he provided funds. I think he introduced him to people and what have you. He was really into it. This was in the early 90s, went on for a while. And then eventually it stopped. He kind of stepped back and faded into the black, you might say. And we didn't hear from him for a while. And then he reemerges in 2016. And what do we learn about that? Well, the first time it came to my attention is when Tom DeLonge gave an extensive interview to George Knapp on, I think it was a Coast to Coast fill-in. And it was a startling interview. You can find it. It's not too hard. Look it up. I encourage people to listen to it. Essentially what Tom DeLonge told Knapp was that the Pentagon had reached out to him. Now, exactly what that means is not clear. Let's assume that he might have been trying to make some contacts with people or whatever, but clearly they reached out to him. I believe he was invited into, a party, event here, event there, and they're talking him up. And what emerged from this is that they wanted Tom to help bring information to the American people on this subject. And would he help? And he said yes. And the way this is going to be done was Tom was going to create or help put together, rather, books, documentaries, so forth, that would convey information about this issue to the American people. And I'm listening to this and I'm going, are you kidding me? Is he serious? And then he continues and says, yes, we had a number of meetings, a meeting with high-level people, and they set up a 10-person advisory team this is in 2016, to assist me in this. And I'm going, oh man, if this is true, it's significant, but I just don't know. And so a lot of people were skeptical. And a couple months went by, and lo and behold, Tom releases a book called Secret Machines, gives more interviews, and it becomes increasingly clear this is real. He is serious. And I'm going, fantastic. All right. And so we're starting to follow it. And then he says there's something big coming. And it turns out that something big was the announcement, I think on October the 11th of this year, of the To the Stars Academy, when he announces that a team has been put together. And they're going to be addressing this issue in a broad spectrum. And they've created a public service corporation. And they give an announcement. They don't do a press conference. They low-keyed this. It's a Facebook video, live Facebook. I don't think they even had an audience. And they made the presentation. And then things got really interesting very quickly. So when he announces To the Stars Academy, of course, the most striking thing about it was the team that they put together. Now, there's something very important that he mentions that a lot of people may not have picked up on. But as he's talking about this announcement that's coming up and so forth, he mentions that some of the people they had initially been working with had to step back. And this kind of delayed things. And as a result, they had to sort of reformulate. What happened there? This is what I think happened. This is what I think may be a significant aspect of this, Jimmy, is that when Tom is dealing with the Pentagon in 2015, for many, many months, there is a presidential election underway. And this election has a candidate, Hillary Clinton, who is virtually assumed to be the next president. She is the leading candidate. The Republican side is in disarray. And that is significant. Why? Because the media had decided to pick up on her connection to the extraterrestrial issue and her husband's and her campaign chairman, John Podesta's. This was primarily the result of PRG's political initiative, which began in November 2014. Eventually, nearly 400 articles would be written, New York Times, all the major papers. And the pressure was so great on the Clinton team that as early as February of 2015, John Podesta responded to it. And then they responded to the subject a number of times. Right? And the Pentagon and the CIA knew this. They saw this. They were fully aware of it. They have been aware of the connection between the Clintons and a lot of their people, their team, and the ET issue going back to the Rockefeller Initiative.
That's right.
They know about this.
Right.
Doesn't matter if the press covered it or not. So what are they seeing? They are seeing that, wow, this connection is coming out. They are aware of the ET issue, although they weren't briefed. And it looks like she wants to be the disclosure president. And that would happen in 2017. And so I believe that the Pentagon, people inside the Pentagon made the decision, if this is going to happen, we need to get out in front of this. We need to show that we're part of the solution and not just the problem. And I think that's why they reached out to Tom DeLonge. Are you with me?
Yes, I'm.
Okay.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
So DeLonge works with them. He makes it clear he's talking with inside people. He's getting inside advice and so forth. And this is all leading up to, the big. I guess it's all leading somewhere. And we get an early example of this when he does the book and talks about the documentary. And I'm watching this and getting less and less skeptical every single day. And so things are moving along. And then something very interesting happens. History is so messy and so quirky. Anything could happen. And what happened was this. WikiLeaks, I don't know where they got them from. Ultimately, I think doesn't matter to us. It may matter a lot to politics in America. But they got a hold of and released 50,000 emails out of John Podesta's files. And they did this leading into the election. An election that Hillary Clinton was still pretty much a lock to win up until just 2 weeks before the election happened. And what came from this? Over about 100 of those emails referenced ET stuff, including emails from me to John Podesta, believe it or not. I think overall, Tom DeLonge was referenced about 30 times in there. It confirmed that meetings were being held, that John had participated in a documentary, and he was introduced to some of the people that DeLonge was working with. Wow. And of course, that really confirmed that DeLonge is real. Whatever is going on here, this is real. I don't care if he's a rock star or a nuclear physicist, it doesn't matter. And so, wow, I'm getting really excited. And on my website, and if you go to Paradigm Research Group, on my website, I have logged all of the 100 emails that references ETs from the Podesta files. Fine. Great. Here we go. And then what happens? Secretary Clinton doesn't win the election. Donald Trump does. And he goes silent. He steps back. And so does everybody else, including me. In other words, it upset everything. It upset the apple cart. It upset 1,000 apple carts. And so, wow, what's going to happen next? Well, we don't hear from Tom for a good while, many months. And then he starts making a few comments out there. Something's going to be put together and something's happening. And then, of course, we get the announcement of the To the Stars Academy on October 11th, which is 10 months after the election, 9 months after the election. What do I think happened there? This is what I think happened.
What happened?
When DeLonge makes his announcement, he said, as I told you before, that some of the people they'd been working with had to step back. And it's clear they had to sort of reformulate the team. In other words, the plan was always to do this. Why did they step back? It's quite simple, I believe. When the Podesta emails come out, a couple guys were outed in those emails. That was not supposed to happen. They're doing their thing. They're back there. The Pentagon, clearly, people high up in there are allowing this to take place. But we are well aware there are plenty of people in the Pentagon, and perhaps in the CIA, that still oppose disclosure. They do not want it to happen. And so it's a complex situation. And so those people had to step out. And probably some of the other people he was working with had to step back. And he had to reformulate the team. That's why it took so long. And so when he makes the announcement, the team comes out, we learn a couple of very, very significant things about that. And that is that some of the most important people involved, and the number one guy is Luis Elizondo, former DAH guy. I mean, he's been everywhere, 22-year career. He retires from service, and within a few days, he signs up with Tom DeLonge. And then I think the other person, I think, is Justice or Khan or something. There was a couple of very key insiders step out of government and go right to work or go sign on with Tom DeLonge. Why? Because now they're out, right? And they're out. They're not working within the Pentagon. They're now outside of the Pentagon. And so now they can work with them. So they had to reformulate a team that would not cause internal problems, a strong team, and they had it together by October the 11th. And Elizondo is key. Because it turns out, I didn't know why Elizondo was as key as he was until, of course, what happens later. And so they, under the era of Trump, under this new president, which is a whole new ballgame for them, they had to take 8 months to reconstruct, and then they announced. And later on, I'll talk about why they didn't delay it even further. Why didn't they wait a year, 2 years, whatever? Because the situation politically in the United States is chaos.
And there's
it's not going to be helpful.
And we're going to take a break here in about 90 seconds. The big point I think that needs to be made here is these aren't unnamed whistleblowers anymore, right? Now we've got faces, names, CVs, resumes, and we know everything about these guys. And one of them is Steve Justice, right? Fresh out of Skunk Works. And to be named in this, now this has got an air of not only legitimacy, but this is something that the media can go and vet. This isn't, some pie in the sky tinfoil hat stuff. We now have careers that we can go and identify with these individuals, and that has never been done before, Stephen, ever. Well,
but Jimmy, to be fair, we've had plenty of named witnesses, high-level people. Top security clearances before that could have been vetted, could have been interviewed to death, but they weren't, right? The nuclear weapons tampering men, my Lord, they should have been interviewed to death. They should have been put in front of congressional committees, but they weren't. And so we've had that before, but the circumstances are different now. And after the break, we'll get into why.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the reason why for me, when we have all of this, and I totally get and respect Robert Salas and Hastings and what they've done. You're absolutely right. It should not have been swept under the rug, and it completely was. But it might not have been swept under the rug if Hastings had somebody like Steve Justice, the head of Skunk Works, that was ready to go on the record to say that something was going on. That's the part where I don't know how DeLonge pulled that off. I don't. I really don't. But you look at it and in its totality, and he's managed to put this together. It's as shocking to me as it is to you and everybody else. So anyway, let's take a break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Steven Bassett, live from the UK. It's Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. More with Steven right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy.
You're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. The day after Christmas. I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas weekend, leading us right into the new year. Tonight, our guest is Steven Bassett, Paradigm Research Group, live from the UK. Tomorrow night, Lisa Garr is here from Coast to Coast, and, of course, her show, The Awake Show. Thursday night, we're going to do predictions 2018 with astrologer Jeff Harmon, taking your phone calls, and also John Rappaport's going to be here with his No More Fake Newsroom. And then Friday night, I'm back over at Coast. My guest will be Richard Dolan. I'll have a couple of surprise guests, maybe even Steven Bassett will find the time to do a drive-by. But very exciting times. Steven, I wanted to ask you this. You spend much of your time in Washington, D.C. That's your gig. And of all the people to pop up in the New York Times article, it's the Senate Majority Leader, Harry Reid, and a secret UFO Pentagon program that he's been funding. And my take on that was Harry had his game face on. He didn't lead on to any of this. Were you just as surprised as I was?
Yes. I didn't know about the study, the 2007 to 2012 study. I did not know Bigelow was involved in this. This, of course, was the second shoe that got dropped. And that's, just as important. And I will definitely get to that. But let me just finish up with what happened on October 11th.
Sure.
The way to look at it is this. What was announced on the team of people that had been put together in a cooperative effort between the Pentagon Military Intelligence Complex and Tom DeLonge, a most interesting marriage, to be sure, view that team as essentially the front line of the faction within the military intelligence complex that wishes, desires to see, without, becoming renegades, without breaking laws, the truth embargo on the ETS issue ended, and the American people told the truth. This is the front line. So, naturally, I went back and reviewed that announcement a number of times. And boy, was it loaded with profound stuff. Maybe a little, those that don't understand the history of this may not have caught it, but those of us that are deeply involved, yes, we caught it. And so if you go and listen to that, I think it was about 16 minutes, maybe it was 30 minutes, announcement, October 11th, to the Stars Academy, Tom DeLonge, who is essentially the quarterback of the team, does the introductory remarks. And the very first person to speak was Justice, right? Steve Justice. And he's the director of the Aerospace Division, right? And he had a 31-year career, including recently retired program director for the advanced systems from Lockheed Martin development programs. In other words, the Skunk Works. Everybody knows about the Skunk Works. And he's the first one to speak. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I got confused in my head. A little foggy here. It's 3:30 in the morning. Chris Mellon is the first one to speak. He seems to be a very key player. Right? He's also the political guy. He was an aide to Senator William Cohen. He drafted the legislation that established the U.S. Special Operations Command. And he's an author of numerous articles on politics and national security. He's the political guy. And what does he do? What he does is he goes through a very careful chronological scenario of the famous event of 2004 involving the Nimitz Aircraft Carrier Task Force, in which they had been tracking bogies for a number of days, doing extraordinary maneuvers, and eventually sent out F-18s to intercept. And he makes it very clear in this summation that that was not a human object. And I'm listening to that, I'm going, that moment right there, in a way, you could say, was the real milestone in all of this, in a sense. When Mellon makes this very first thing, he's essentially saying, there's ETs here. This is one of the most important events that we know about. Obviously, there have been thousands of such events, but and off he goes. And I'm going, wow, that is very significant. Elizondo speaks, and not everybody spoke, by the way. So it's notable that Mellon and Elizondo were, I think, only two of the three that spoke in addition to DeLonge. And he's career intelligence, and he's CIA, just retired. And that was very significant to me. And so I'm going, what's going on there? Of course, we didn't know at the time that he, in fact, was running the program, the study that was done from 2010. We didn't know about that. This was the first shoe that dropped, the first big one. And so that all takes place. And then the announcement comes on December the 16th. So essentially, it was like October, November. It was approximately 2 months. 2 months that they then put together their next maneuver. And that maneuver, of course, comes out of the New York Times. Now, keep in mind, I say next maneuver. Obviously, the Times is somehow got wind of this. I think we can assume they were contacted. Right. I don't think the Times just decided, gee, we want to dig into some stuff and see what we can find out at the Pentagon. I can assure you that this was facilitated by these inside fellows or the team members. And Times was basically given the story, not surprisingly. They chose the Times. Why not? Of course. And so with their help, the story gets broke on December 16th. And what we learned there expands profoundly what we learned on October the 11th. What we learned there is that the study was launched in 2007, that a major political figure, Harry Reid, Senate Majority Leader, was involved. 2 other senators helped to get the earmarked money for the study, and that was Inouye and Stevens. That they were operating, I guess you could say, as a faction within the Senate. They kept it on the down low, right, because they knew, well, there could be resistance to that. It wasn't a lot of money, right, $4.5 million a year. And this study goes on. All right, fine. That's pretty profound right there. And then we learn something else in the article, and that is Robert Bigelow was completely involved in this, and it was his company that was getting a lot of this money. And I'm going, bingo. Now, why is that profound? Well, for very simple reasons, right? Robert Bigelow is a billionaire, made his money in real estate in Las Vegas. And in 1998, he launched an aerospace company, a really serious endeavor. His dream was flexible habitats for space. Right? A lot of people poo-pooed it initially, but after he put a couple of $100 million in it and got NASA, on board he got on board as a contractor to NASA, they didn't poo-poo it anymore. Okay, great. And so it would have been totally appropriate for him to be involved in this study. And so he launches aerospace in 1998, and 9 years later, in 2007, he's now involved in this study. But we know something else about Bigelow that's very important. Before he even launched the aerospace company in 1998, Bigelow Aerospace, he launched an organization called the National Institute of Discovery Sciences in let me see if I can get this right in my head, 1995. 3 years before he launches the aerospace company. And the National Institute of Discovery Sciences was set up to basically investigate ET phenomena and other related things. And it lasted from 95 to 2004. He had inside people like John Alexander on the board, high-level people, and he funded it. And they did a lot of research. A lot of it's not necessarily known. He researched some very unusual phenomena at a place called Skinwalker Ranch. He was deep into this. So he was already known to be very much interested in this phenomenon and putting his money up when he sets up Bigelow Aerospace. And it was already known by NASA that he was doing this when he becomes a contractor to them. So apparently they weren't particularly concerned about his deep and heavily funded interest in this phenomena. They shut down NIDS in 2004, and then he gets involved with MUFON. He gives money to MUFON to do research that would be provided to him, and it could have been a very big deal, but it kind of got a little crazy, and eventually he steps out of that. This is in that period between 2004 and 2007, and then he steps into the research program that Harry Reid wanted, and he's involved in that for 5 years. So this is the most important private sector person in the world. Turns out it's not Erie Milner,
right?
Who is involved in this issue and has money to take it wherever he wants to go. Okay, that's cool. And then something very significant happened. Before this is before the announcement of the To the Stars Academy on October 11th. I forget the exact day. It was about a month before. Bigelow is interviewed on CBS 60 Minutes, which is like the premier television magazine show, right? Been on forever. He's interviewed primarily because of a milestone event for Bigelow Aerospace, because his flexible habitat, one of his flexible habitats, was going to be tested on the space station for the first time, which would completely legitimize everything he's trying to do. It's the most important event in Bigelow's, certainly, aerospace life, right? And not surprisingly, CBS wants to interview him. It makes a great interview. And, of course, he agrees to do it. And so they do the interview, and they're talking about it. They're walking around his huge plant, and he's talking about his programs and so forth. But obviously, given his involvement in the ET issue going all the way back to NIDS in 1995, CBS is going to ask him about it. And so this nice reporter eventually asks him about the ET issue. Now, let's be clear. When you do these kinds of interviews, you don't just show up and ask some random questions. Bigelow would have known in advance the areas they were going to get into. They wouldn't have provided him the exact question, but he would have known that they were going to get into this and that and whatever, including the ET issue, without question. And the reporter, 60 Minutes, was going to ask whatever he thought was appropriate. And so it came to that section, and she engages the subject. And she asked him about, I'm paraphrasing here, she asked him something on the lines, do you think this is real? And he says, oh, yes, something. He's saying, I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, there's ETs here, in so many words. And you could tell she did not expect that answer. And so she immediately comes back to him and says, are you concerned that people that hear you saying that are going to think you're a little whatever? And he immediately responds, I don't give a damn. Now, in my view, this is the second most profound I don't give a damn in American history. The obviously first example of this was the last words from Clark Gable in the
right.
famous movie, right? Which I'm blanking out on. Jimmy, help me here. Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, Clark Gable, Gone with the Wind, yes.
As he's leaving Vivian Leigh, he says, I don't give a damn. Well, this is the second most profound example of that. And she is even more shocked. And so she doubles back on it again. And he says, they're here already. And I'm watching this and I'm going, that is a significant event. Whoa, what just happened? Why did he do that? Why did he make that move? His crowning achievement of his aerospace work is happening at the space station. He's in a tight relationship with NASA. To make a statement like that could blow everything out of the water. What in the hell is going on? Well, we found out when the New York Times article came out, didn't we? Right?
Yep.
What we found out is that he was doing that research, and NASA would have known about it. I mean, yeah, it was kept secret, but it wasn't a special access program, right? In fact, it was just on the down low. It wasn't a USAP. It was on the down low. And I assure you that when it comes to things like that, the insiders, the Pentagon, the CIA would have known, NASA would have probably been informed. And obviously they did not intervene. And so, whoa. Bigelow is obviously playing a much bigger role than I imagined. And so the best explanation I can give is this. Bob Bigelow, like so many people in America, in business, in economics and finance, in the Pentagon, in the military, know and that there's an ET presence. They don't have to be briefed. They could figure it out by simply going online and reviewing the evidence. They've known it for years. Bigelow, of course, has put his heart and soul into exploring space. And unlike the SpaceX program, his stuff is independent of any sequestered technologies. Right? They're building chemical rockets. Hell, we've had anti-gravitic propulsion inside for years. But he's building he's building these habitats. He knows that the future is extraordinary. But the one thing holding it all back is this damn truth embargo. And somehow he had just been fed up. And he decided, what the hell? I am disgusted. I'm fed up. I'm going to pop a cork on that champagne bottle. It's also possible that it was planned, that him making that statement was planned with the team, with the DeLonge people, in order to help set the stage. But I have no way of knowing that. That's purely a guess. But whatever. You could look at his face, just watch that interview, and you see a very frustrated man who knows that if the truth embargo were to end tomorrow, the exploration of space would explode, and all of his dreams could come true. And so when that emerges out of the New York Times article, all the pieces come together. And I'm seeing now kind of what I think is unfolding.
There was another part. There's so many pieces to this puzzle. It's just extraordinary as you start to look at it. But to have the original live press conference to the empty auditorium, but to talk about the Nimitz and this FA-18 and the Tic Tac UFO, and that they're going to release this video. And it's got provenance. It's coming from the Pentagon, and it's not been poo-pooed, right? It's been authenticated. But then to back all of that up with the pilot. So now you've got the pilot every single night for 7 days straight, Dave Fravor, out there in the mainstream media every single night, and he wasn't named in the press conference. And it was like this air of legitimacy, this disclosure that was out there. And for the press, they were able to vet all of these sources. That's the other thing that I don't think the public has quite understood. That CNN, Fox, MSNBC, Politico, BBC, RT, CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, everybody else that's out there, they vet this story. They didn't go about this willy-nilly.
Yeah, Jimmy, this is exactly this is exactly the key point. Is there is a programmed process here. This is not accidental. And what they're doing is classic. If you want to develop a media frenzy that is powerful, which is what ET's been trying to do for years. Right. That's what I was trying to do in the political initiative. Launch a media frenzy because of the ET connection to Clinton that would put so much pressure on the Pentagon that it would force a reproach bomb with the White House and disclosure would come under Obama. But if you want to do that, you have to give the media something new every couple of weeks. You've got to step them in and get them deeper and deeper involved. And so it starts with the let's put all this together and assume it's all part of a plan. It starts with Bigelow's statement on 60 Minutes. There's ETs here. The next step, not that long after that, I forget how many weeks, you get the announcement of the team and the To the Stars Academy. And the statement by Mellon regarding the Nimitz event, right? Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, they're communicating with the New York Times, which is looking into this, and they provide them more information about the Nimitz events. And what they provide is that when Luis Elizondo left, apparently he resigned. The story is he resigned because he was frustrated with the fact that the Pentagon was not pursuing this more. But keep in mind that was like 5 years after the program ended in 2012.
Yeah, strange.
So it's possible.
Yeah, strange.
It's possible that was, how would you say, the cover story?
Cover story.
Leaving and getting involved. Who knows? But
yep.
He took 3 gun camera footages with him when he left. Now, let's be clear. If the Pentagon did not want Luis Elizondo to take 3 gun camera footages with him, it wouldn't have happened. And so they allowed it, which as far as I'm concerned means they released it. Now, why is that important? And that's the second most important thing. The Bigelow announcement to me was incredibly important in that article. Second most important thing was the gun camera footage. Why? This Nimitz footage is the first time ever the United States military has allowed any gun camera footage of a UAP intercept ever. Now, let's be clear. The United States military has racks of gun camera footage events of UAP intercepts going back 70 years.
No doubt.
Okay. And they've never released it. Why? Well, hell, if they started releasing gun camera footage of, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 of these things turning up visually and on their infrared and microwave, the truth embargo would explode. And of course, the truth embargo was the policy; it wasn't going to change, and so they didn't do it. And I talked about this many times over the last 20 years. Right? Where's the gun camera footage? Right? Well, that was to me the gun camera footage issue. Which, by the way, the U.S. is not the only nation that has gun camera footage. All the major nations with air forces have gun camera footage. They're all sitting on it, right? Because they're servicing the truth embargo for whatever reason. So all of a sudden, the first ever is released, and it's not trivial. It is very powerful. And Elizondo got it, and the Pentagon allowed him to release it. So naturally, that was a milestone event without question. Remember that footage that occurred on that drug surveillance plane in Mexico, the FLIR footage, basically the infrared footage. That was not gun camera footage. That was they were filming, looking for drugs and so forth. And it came out, made a big of a stir and what have you. But it wasn't gun camera footage from a military intercept jet, right? Involved in and coming from an Air Force a naval task force. No.
Think
so? This is very powerful.
Yeah,
clearly, the New York Times is going to get into that, and they did.
Do you think
and then the next step is and they also announce, of course, the pilot, and that sets up the interviews. Now, so the interview tableau, as we stand right now, is pretty rich. It includes Harry Reid. It includes Robert Bigelow. It includes any of the members on the team who want to be interviewed. It includes the pilot of the plane. Well, the other pilot now is come out and being interviewed. All right. And so they're building the story. This is exactly how the Watergate thing built. It's exactly how the Monica Lewinsky firestorm built. They're building this story. And Elizondo has got 2 more gun camera footage events, which I assume will be released in the appropriate time. So I'm inviting your audience. Look, there is a plan here. This is programmed. This is orchestrated. These people are serious. They are going after the truth embargo by generating the media interest at a level so intense that something is going to have to give. And I should also mention that all of this isn't just being viewed by American people. There are people all over the world, in governments all over the world, who are watching all of this. And the most important person watching this is Vladimir Putin, right? Which brings us to another very significant potential aspect of this. Under the heading of why did they elect to eventually make this move? Why did they get in touch with DeLonge? Why did they cooperate and help him create an incredible program? Literally put him at the head of the spear on the disclosure process, right? And this is happening in 2015. I would like to offer another possible reason.
What's that?
Can't prove it, speculating. And that's this. For years, I have been giving interviews and talking about Vladimir Putin and other potential heads of state that could announce the ET presence, whether the U.S. government wanted it or not. And fine, right? I was doing it to send a message to the Pentagon, right? Don't forget, unless Vladimir is working for you guys, he could announce this tomorrow, and you're going to be sitting there holding the bag. But I was also speaking to Vladimir Putin through the media, right? Just kind of putting a little bug in his ear. Well, let's assume that was being heard. And so, in addition to, as of 2015, having a very leading candidate for president who seems to be all over the ET issue, going all the way back to her husband's administration, who is starting to make statements in the media that, I'm going to look into this. You've got the potential for Vladimir Putin to take independent action and leave the United States with a real serious public relations problem. And they would have also understood that as Putin is one.
Oh, I lost you. Are you there? Okay, I'm going to take a quick break. Let's just do that. We're at the bottom of the hour, but we just lost Steven Bassett. He just dropped out. This is Fade to Black. Man, right on time, though, actually. Our guest tonight, Steven Bassett, live from London. We're talking Disclosure 2.0. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More Steven after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Steven Bassett, live from the UK. We're talking Disclosure 2.0, the amazing week that we just had. And this is what's funny. Steven, you bring up Putin, right? Boom. Yeah. NSA jumps in and cut the call short. But let me say this. I have my family, my in-laws, Russian, Armenian, right? And my brother-in-law pulls me over a couple of years ago and says, Jimmy, you've got to see this video. It's Dmitry Medvedev, you know, the president of Russia, talking about aliens, right? So he shows me the video, and it's Medvedev on a news program getting interviewed. They break for commercial, but the mics are live. And he goes off with the interviewer and says, of course aliens are real, man. I get the briefcase, you know, right? And the briefcase says, here's all the alien information. And this conversation happens off camera. It makes all of the foreign news. It doesn't make it into the United States. But it's also another piece of this puzzle, isn't it?
Yes, you can easily see that interview. Just go to YouTube and do a YouTube search on Medvedev UFO. I don't think that was an accident. I think it was planned.
I do too. But I do too.
No way to know for sure. A little bit of a, how would you say, a heads up to the United States. The complex dynamics going on regarding this issue, particularly as we get into what we'll call behind the scenes intelligence correspondence between nations. God knows. I mean, remember, this has been going on for 70 years. But the point I was making at the end of the show was that, at the end of the last segment, was that one of the factors that the Pentagon and the game players there had to consider, and always had to consider, is that if the disclosure process starts to really reach the goal here in the U.S. and the disclosure event, this incredible political legacy, unbelievable geopolitical legacy, becomes right at the doorstep of the United States, the incentive for Putin to step in and yank the whole thing out from under us increases. And so they, and I can tell you, let me be very clear. The difference geopolitically between a president of the United States announcing the extraterrestrial presence formally, the disclosure event, and the president of Russia is profound. Trust me on this. Right? And the implications for the U.S. are enormous. And so they're having to factor this in. Now, in that regard, I should mention that I came over to London 6 months ago. I've been in and out, but it's been over a period of 7 months, primarily because after the election, the entire political initiative that PRG was working on essentially blew up. And I didn't know what to do. And things were in chaos in the U.S., and I just couldn't deal with it, so I come over here. But while I'm here, I'm trying to make contacts. And lo and behold, I was contacted by a Russian national television network. They wanted to interview me in London. And I said, great, I'll interview, but I want to interview in Moscow. They said, fine, you're willing to pay your way. Come and get us. And so on May the 3rd, I flew to Moscow and gave a 1.5-hour interview to REN TV, which is like their most popular national network, had an audience base about 120 million. And this interview lasted for 1 hour and 30 minutes. A little bit of it was used in one of their television programs, I think called Extraordinary Hypothesis, I think, or Shocking Hypotheses. But they only used a little bit of it. What was significant about this interview, which eventually I got a copy of, right, and I'm now starting to publish the excerpts from it. The first one went up about a week ago, and I just put the second excerpt up. I've got 8 more to put up, is that something happened, I think, for the first time ever, and that is that I talked extensively about the political implications of disclosure and so forth, both from the U.S. and a Russian side and perspective. And I talked about Putin, the pros and cons of him being the disclosure president. Now, as I said, I've done that many, many times in interviews in U.S. media, UK media. But this was the first time anyone had ever brought this up on Russian media, including RT. Not just on Russian media, but also on, and as well as on Russian soil. And so this could be interesting. In addition to that, 6 meetings were arranged for me in Moscow in a week from May 3rd to May 10th with 6 different groups, 2 groups a day for 3 days at one of the hotels there. What was notable about these meetings wasn't like a huge information, because I'm talking to 4 or 5 men, and I've got one translator, and she's good, but she's not incredible, and it's very hard. But, it's like a get to know, hello, how you doing? What was notable is that most of the people in these groups that I met with, about half, were formerly worked for the Soviet government and the Russian government involving this issue. And now, they're retired, they're out of the government, and they've still been working on it. One of them was a top aide to Lavrov, the foreign minister. Now, does that sound familiar to you?
Right.
Because what do we have here?
Right.
With the Stars Academy, we have former people not in the government anymore, now working on the issue in public. And the reason these interviews were important in Russia was that I knew that if I took those interviews, Putin would know I was there. And then I was going to sit back and wait to see if he blocked, or if the Kremlin blocked, the interview that I gave to REN TV. He didn't, right? I got that interview. They may use more of it, I don't know. But now I'm putting it out in the U.S. And so now understand, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Pentagon, the CIA would have known that I was in Moscow. They would have known that I gave that interview. And that was on May the 3rd. And so what does this mean? It means that, look, there is a very powerful, important process underway. It is not trivial. There is an enormous amount at stake. And the players include the major governments of the world, certainly the United States, Russia, China, the UK, all of which know about the ET presence, all of which may have ET technology from crashed events. Maybe it's only the US, not clear yet. And the disclosure process is making headway, and the truth embargo is coming apart. This is huge. And believe me, it will take a lot of years for the historians to sort out everything that was going on, but we're seeing some of it right now. And then the question is, what happens next? Well, what I think is coming is this. Disclosure will probably happen in 2018. It's either going to come from the United States or it's going to come from Russia. And we're going to be in the post-disclosure world. And the To the Stars team and everything that's going to come from them is going to be a major factor, without question. But go ahead.
Yeah, there was something for me happened this weekend that was pretty significant. I'm sitting around with my family, which is diverse. I'm talking about, mothers, worker, corporate life, independent, but the one thing that we've never talked, they know what my job is. We don't talk UFOs. In fact, we don't talk their employment either. We talk about, whatever, it's a family thing. This weekend, going around the table of, 8 or 10 of these adults, when I said, okay, what'd you guys think about, this gun, the aliens, the mainstream media? Everybody at that table said the same thing. So what? Aliens are here, of course. And for them to have that almost lackadaisical, you know what I mean? Lack of enthusiasm in it spoke volumes. And I think it's a very good slice of the pie of what generally was going on. There wasn't, let's be clear here. It may not have been the grand disclosure, but it was disclosure enough. And religions didn't collapse, Stephen. The economy didn't collapse. Governments didn't fall. There wasn't anarchy in the streets, right? None of that happened. And I think it was a sigh of relief. Were you surprised about that? The Vatican didn't say anything.
Well, look, the whole myth about if ETs are renounced, religion collapses, business collapse, it's all myth. It's all propaganda to service the truth embargo. It's not true. It really never has been. Though, the 1940s, early 50s might have been problematic, but I can make a case it would have been fine. But that's all part of the truth embargo. The ET issue is so normalized, it's not even funny. Okay, so you're absolutely right. And something else is going on. Besides the fact that people are talking about this over the dinner tables all over the world, thanks to the New York Times, is that throughout the United States, there are thousands of former military, intelligence, and even political persons who worked for government, now retired, who are contemplating right at this moment, should I come forward? In other words, we could very well see a second Me Too campaign.
Right.
Only it's going to be a little different. The Me Toos are going to be twittering, blogging, or giving interviews about, really couldn't come forward before now. And do you think the government doesn't know that? Of course they do. In other words, and there's something else too, by the way, that's important. Going back to Bigelow and his I don't give a damn. When Bob Bigelow said, I don't give a damn to the CBS 60 Minutes reporter, he basically sent a message to every billionaire in the world. It's a fairly exclusive club, but it's getting bigger all the time. Whether you're entertainment billionaire, sports billionaire, high-tech billionaire, or, and particularly the entertainment billionaires, the Steven Spielbergs, the Lucases, right? He's basically said this message. I know damn well that there's an ET presence. You're too smart. You've got too many connections, vast amount of money. Right? All you have to do is read Stanton Friedman. You can figure it out.
Right.
Why don't you grow a pair and come forward? Right? Steve Spielberg. Why don't you do that? I just did. All right? Because you have the power. I mean, let's face it. What would happen if 4 more billionaires, right? Pick them. Bezos, Elon Musk.
Yeah, Yuri Milner's already, stepped forward in a big way.
Yeah, well, in a big way. I mean, he's funding more SETI stuff, which means he's throwing his money down the toilet. But the point is, what if 3 or 4 more like that came forward, gave an interview in the New York Times or 60 Minutes and said, yeah, there's ETs here.
Right.
Believe me. But they have chosen not to do it. Why? Because when you're a billionaire, you got a lot to lose.
Well, and it was always tinfoil hat up to this point.
Well, I mean, that's the point. The government marginalized the issue and made it awkward and risky for people with a lot to lose to step into it. And Bigelow had a lot to lose. It's not that they're going to take his money away, but his dream, his aerospace dreams, could have gone up in smoke by making that statement. But he's saying, I did it, and nothing happened to him. And so God knows what's going to come from the billionaires, right? And so again, the truth embargo is now, I believe, in its last days. But there is another problem. I say problem. There's another very significant factor. And some people are going to criticize me for going, I don't care. I'm just talking about what is, right? I'm not pushing an apple cart here per se. And that's this. The disclosure is a political event. And by the way, disclosure from a head of state, as powerful as what happened on December the 16th was, disclosure from the heads of state will be 1,000 times more powerful.
Right.
So the political situation is very, very important because once that announcement is out, we were in the post-disclosure world, and the heads of state at the time that the post-disclosure world begins are going to be faced with some of the most complex potential issues ever faced by any heads of state ever. It's going to be profound and exciting and what have you, but man, this is going to require everything you got. Well, we have an interesting situation in the United States, and essentially, and again, this is a contrast. In Russia, they have had a very stable government for a very long time. It's pretty orderly. There's very high approval ratings. Without getting into the criticisms and the problems, I get it. But the fact that they've had a stable government is obvious. The United States is in chaos. It's been in serious trouble for the last 25 years. Politically, it's a mess. And one of the things that has emerged from that is we had an unusual president. It can happen. And he has created a very volatile, uncertain situation in the United States. Increase the hyperpartisanship, and what have you. He has no background in almost anything related to the ET issue, post-disclosure issues, and what have you. And it is my view that this was one of the reasons why Tom DeLonge and everything that was happening behind the scenes had to be tabled for a good while. But then they emerge, of course, they still make their move in October the 11th of this year. So is that connected, and how? I think one way it may be connected is this. The Pentagon, oh, by the way, remember, the Pentagon is the one driving. I mean, I say the Pentagon. The faction in the Pentagon that is committed now to disclosure is driving this. Tom is quarterbacking, but he's not, I don't believe, the coach on the sideline with the headsets. And they are faced with a very difficult equation. One, the disclosure thing is emerging. The truth embargo is coming apart, regardless of who the president is. And they want to get out in front of this so that they look part of the solution and not the problem. And to facilitate it as well, to make it happen, right? They also have a concern that another head of state, particularly Vladimir Putin, could go ahead and pull the rug out from under them. But then they have a very problematic president and a very chaotic, hyper-partisan situation in the United States. Not the ideal scenario for disclosure to happen, particularly if it's from this president of the United States. But if they sit and do nothing, if they just, bunker up and say, well, we'll wait till a more favorable time, that may not work at all, particularly with Putin. And so they waited 8 months, and Tanya decided that the calculation was, let's go ahead. Why? The best answer I can give is this. The Pentagon and the CIA have, how would you say, the ability to assess our political situation with information, contacts, and so forth, and huge amounts of resources, way beyond anything you or I have, or even the New York Times. And so they have a better picture of what is maybe going to happen politically in the U.S. than we do. And I believe they have calculated, as many people have, that the current president will not be in office that long. That there are some very, very good reasons why. It is a lot of people's best interest. If he take a physical in January, have some medical issues, and have to step away, and a new president will take over. Could be Pence, it could be Ryan, it could be under depending on the scenario, it could be a newly elected from the House of Representatives. And thus the political situation could stabilize. Would it be ideal? No. But would it be better than sitting and doing nothing and letting this happen underneath the Pentagon? No. So I think that is the equation that they're trying to solve. But who knows? Who knows how this is going to go? And and this is where things get really interesting. When you put together these two things, one, the fact that Vladimir Putin has the power to end the truth embargo and take this legacy for Russia and himself, and at the same time, Vladimir Putin has this very unusual relationship with the current president that includes a vast developing investigation with all kinds of accusations and so forth. I mean, this is really bizarre, but incredibly entertaining, God knows.
What about what about this part? There are so many wonderful ideas here, and one of them is we have the Pentagon getting audited, and that this would have surfaced in the audit, and maybe they needed to get out in front of it too before they were caught in something.
Well, Jimmy, let's put it this way. I'll believe the Pentagon is being audited when it's been audited and the report's been released.
Now, there's something else, and if you haven't heard this, you should look into this, and that is the $22 million wasn't $22 million over 5 years. It was $22 million per year.
No, it wasn't, Jimmy. It wasn't. I've checked that.
Okay.
It was $22 million total. That's from multiple sources.
Okay.
All right.
Now,
it wasn't much money, which is why they were able to essentially earmark it and not have it become like news in the New York Times.
Now, there's this other part here. The elephant in the room is Podesta. And so let's discuss a few different aspects here. One, we have the whole pedophile Pizzagate Podesta story. And that the possibility of that coming. How do you silence somebody? How do you make somebody disappear? Call him a pedophile. His career's done. He has no more standing in the community. That's what you do. And that before the pedophile Pizzagate revelations that were put together in social media, that he was, he had that famous tweet, right? The famous tweet.
Of course.
The UFO community loved that guy. You and I talked about it. I've talked about it with numerous people. And then after the Pizzagate, now you can't mention Podesta in the UFO community anymore. He's been erased. He's been silenced.
Jimmy, it's not that simple. First of all, the Pizzagate thing is a right-wing propaganda hit. It's completely bogus. It's as nasty as it gets, but the right-wing propagandists are as nasty as they come. So, but nevertheless, yeah, and that didn't emerge until just before the election, and it was concocted out of the emails that came out under WikiLeaks. But yes, it is really, it is one. Some guy recently just sent Munchin, the Secretary of Treasury, a box of horse manure.
Right.
Well, the Pizzagate thing was a real box of horse manure delivered to John Podesta. Well, it's notable though that John just put out a tweet saying, "Let's lift the veil" in his response to the New York Times article. But it's also important to note.
But hold on, let me jump in because we're going to head towards a break. I don't want to lose sight of this. Podesta was not at the To the Stars press conference.
Of course, there was no press conference.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
He's not going to be there.
That's right. And
because look, here's something very important. Note, Tom DeLonge did not engage the Republican Party on this issue. He engaged Podesta and the Democrats on this issue. Why? Why didn't he go to both? Why wasn't he trying to get interviews with the chairman of Trump's campaign? Whatever. Well, because Tom DeLonge is fully aware of the connection between the Clintons and the Clinton team and her husband and even Barack Obama to the ET issue going back to 93. And this is where it was all happening. She was going to be the disclosure president. So naturally, he engaged Podesta. So when the whole thing blows up, of course, right, that was also a problem. And yes, John Podesta, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton are sitting there. And anytime they could call up Maureen Dowd tomorrow, all sit down and give her a 2-hour rundown on the entire reason why they've been talking about this issue, the Rockefeller Initiative, and I guarantee you that would throw some serious logs on the fire. But let's face it, they're still recovering from this political loss. They have been marginalized by the right wing without question, right? They're still being attacked constantly. A year after the election, Trump still wants to lock Hillary Clinton up. And so they're kind of been neutralized, but that doesn't mean they couldn't give an interview anyway. We'll see. That could happen, right? But there's a lot of unknown factors here. But Podesta is, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and John Podesta, and a number of other people, particularly the Clintons, have this extraordinary connection to this event. And this event, the disclosure event, is huge. And I don't think they're just going to go away. I don't think they're going to just say, well, we had a shot. I assure you, they would like a piece of this action. And the question is, how would they do that? When will they make their move? All we know now is that Podesta put out a tweet saying, lift the veil, meaning I'm still here. Don't forget about me.
We're going to take a break right here, but there's another part of this, not to politicize any of it, but the administrations come and go. White House comes and goes. The agenda stays running behind the scenes. Those are all career people, NSA, CIA, military. Their agenda continues. So correct. Would this, I know that you just pointed out the Hillary connection, but if Trump is here and it still happened, so is it because of the military not being politicized in the background in the CIA that this was going to happen anyway? It didn't matter who was elected president.
Oh, boy. No. Well, let me put it this way. The Republicans and Trump just simply are not on this issue. They have never engaged it. It is just a radically different political status than if the Clintons had won. Whatever you think of them, without getting into politics, the connection was all with the Clinton people, right? And Obama as well. And so now they have a new situation. What do they do? And without being, quote, political, I'm just calling it as it is. I'm pretty sure, based upon what I have read, that the Pentagon and the CIA are not happy with the president. They are not confident in the president. He compared the Pentagon's generals to Nazis. There's an institution in the country he hasn't attacked.
Yeah, I know.
And they are fully aware of his capabilities.
There's another part. Well, we need to take a break right here. And so we'll pick this up on the backside. But there's one thing, though, about Trump that I think we all can admit. You can't control that guy. Right? You just can't control him. The press, the media has been trying to control him for so long. You can't control his mouth. And if he's wants to speak out about this, I don't know if anybody can stop him.
No, they can't. Yeah. The issue isn't whether he speaks out or not. The issue is, if they're going to advance this, do they want it to break while Trump is in office or not?
Well, I think that cat's out of the bag. Let's take a break right here, Stephen. Our guest tonight, Steven Bassett, the Paradigm Research Group. I'm flipping switches here. I'm Jimmy Church. We'll be right back.
God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat. Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Steven Bassett, the Paradigm Research Group, live from the UK, by the way. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Steven at Steve Bassett. And Steve, on this last segment of the show, I don't want to let what I think is the most, you listed, points 1, 2, and 3. And what I thought was interesting with that, and I agree with you, but there was something here that has been just ignored by the mainstream press and our audience, which is that warehouse with alien artifacts in it. And this has been, it's just weird how this community hasn't grabbed onto this a bit more. So I want to ask you a few questions here about this. First off, which I think is most significant, is where did this material come from? That's what I mean. We have a few different things that we can talk about. Did it come from Roswell? Did it come from a famous case that we know about? Did it come from an unknown case, a retrieval that we don't know about that's never been revealed? Is it from a crash? Was it given to us from ET? None of this has been addressed. So what do you think, especially when you first heard this, where do you think it came from? Where do you think this material is from?
I don't know, but this is a very interesting area of this, which has sort of two sides to it. First of all, there is a segment on, or one of the little parts of Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell was Art's Parts.
Yep.
I'm sure you remember that.
Yep.
And little pieces of this and that have been floating around for years in various people's hands. And that's fine. Nothing really has come of it. And one of the reasons for that is that this idea that, wow, you got some metal or you got something and you're going to look at it and clearly it's not from this earth and therefore ETs are here. Oh, it's not that easy. When you're talking about scientific analysis and trying to understand pieces of stuff, it is incredibly complex. And so and if you do find something, say like an unusual isotope arrangement, fine. It may be very provocative, and in the context of the ET reality, which has already been proven as far as I'm concerned, it certainly raises an interest. But by and large, in terms of really resolving anything, that kind of stuff takes years. Years and years and years. And so the parts thing really never had much chance to seriously impact disclosure. Okay, fine. Now, that said, what we had announced there was of a different type. We're not talking Art's Parts. Clearly, what they were saying is that one of the functions of the program, right, the Strategic Aviation Threat Identification Program, sometimes referred to as the Strategic Aerospace, both names are being used, it's not clear which is correct, is that they decided to do some materials analysis. And it was necessary to set up a lab there. So they reconfigured some parts of one of his facilities at Bigelow Aerospace to do laboratory studies, clearly, on this material as part of the $22 million funded 5-year program. And I think it's fair to say that it wasn't Art's Parts that they were dealing with. You're not going to spend that money, right, on stuff being sent in by radio aficionado or listener. You're going to be studying stuff which has a strong provenance, which means almost certainly the materials that they were looking at were provided by the Pentagon.
That's right.
Which, again, when you think about it, kind of works out for the Pentagon because they can't, whatever they are doing studying these materials, they can't release it. That's classified stuff. And so by turning it over during that program, obviously with the proper approvals, they sort of get it out of their hair, and then it can be studied in this civilian project, essentially. And we can learn something, all right? So everybody sort of wins there. Now, they didn't have to announce that. That didn't have to be mentioned. But they did. Why did they do that? Again, if you see this as a carefully orchestrated plan to bring the press to a peak sort of frenzy about this issue, this would have been helpful because it is material. It is physical. And while I don't believe this kind of physical stuff really can close the deal in any way on the ET presence, which has already been established anyway, it is something that's easy for reporters and editors to get involved with, meaning, well, they got a piece, let's find out what they got. That is not a hard story to greenlight. And so it's just one more thing for the press to engage in when they're ready, in addition to all the potential interviews and so forth. That's what I think is the value there. Now, if they had released, if one of those pieces happens to be a full retrieved saucer, well, then we've got something. I don't think they have that. The government wouldn't allow that anyway. But remember, if the government has crashed vehicles, which I believe the evidence is compelling that they do. I think it's 99% certain that they got materials. Then they have a crashed vehicle. They got materials. It's not some piece sitting out in the middle of a field near Roswell. It's actually coming from materials. And they made a decision. So, and they have been studying those materials since 1947. So, in a sense, what might have happened here is they just to sort of, I guess, give the strategic aviation threat program a little juice. They provided some of those materials to investigate. That's the best answer I can give to that. But it's notable, and we'll see what comes from it.
Well, and we don't know what it is, by the way, in that, a piece of metal from wreckage is one thing. But what if it's a communications device, something intact, a pair of shoes, clothing? It could be anything. And they also said something else. I mean, look. You get a box and it's from the Pentagon and it says this is from a retrieved this is a piece of alien tech. That's a whole different thing than me coming forward saying I found this piece of metal in the field out in Roswell. That's we're talking about two different things. And then they let this slip. They said that they had conductive plastics.
Yep.
I mean, again, talk about a drip, drip, drip. That's a golden nugget there. What did they really mean by saying this? They didn't have to let any of this go, like you said. They didn't have to mention any of this, but they did.
But again, the audience needs to keep this larger perspective. Understand that they released gun camera footage, but they've had gun camera footage for 70 years, right? They may have provided them some materials, but they've had those materials for 70 years, accumulating them for 70 years, right? They made a big deal in the article about how this study was the first one since 1960, end of Blue Book in 1969, and it ended in 2012. They have never stopped investigating the ET issue since 1947, if not earlier, 24/7, year after year, never stopped, right? So this idea, there was another investigation, we'll let you know about it. No, it's never stopped. And so again, when you look at all this, don't think of it as like, we're finally getting the picture. What you are seeing is the orchestrated efforts, strategic game of chess, being played apparently by a faction within the U.S. military intelligence complex, obviously not being blocked by those that oppose it, either because for whatever reason, the opposing forces have not prevented this being played out. And if you look at it from the perspective of, if the fundamental goal is to create so much media intensity that it forces a resolution, right? Then everything they're doing fits perfectly into that scenario. Again, they can't. The people inside that favor disclosure can't suddenly meet in the parking lot of the Pentagon with a bunch of signs marching around going, "It's time to tell the truth." They cannot do that. Understand who these people are and the things that they do and the agreements they have to sign and the security clearance. They cannot do that. But what they are doing is orchestrating a way this is developing in a way that's not illegal. One of the things you should note is that none of the information being provided by any of these people in interviews violates any non-security oaths, as near as I can tell. The fact that basically Chris Mellon goes up there and announces that ETs are, this is an ET event. That doesn't violate national security because everybody knows there's ETs. It's already publicly known. So for a Pentagon person, even to say, particularly retired, to say there's ETs here, that doesn't really violate any of that. Now, if Elizondo were to suddenly produce some documents that refer to, say, managerial MJ-12 kind of stuff, that would be violating a non-security oath. They haven't done that. So they're playing ball correctly, but they are pushing the envelope without question. And one of the things I'm looking for carefully is any pushback from, either the Pentagon, the CIA, or politically. I haven't seen it yet. We'll see. Could happen at any time. So again, that I constantly view everything that's unfolding, Jimmy, in this context. And when I do, it makes sense to me. Without that context, it sounds a little wild and crazy.
Do you think Luis Elizondo or Steve Justice, that there's a possibility, even the pilot, Dave Fravor, that there's the possibility that they could, through all of these interviews, slip up and say something that they shouldn't?
It's possible. If they do, I don't think there'll be any serious repercussions.
Why not?
Well,
I mean, have they already gone too far?
Well, again, I don't think so, but we're watching for that. Look, there was a fellow that came out a while back named Chase Brandon with a very long CIA career.
Yes.
And he made a big splash because he's writing a book on Roswell, and he came out and he said, I found some stuff, and I found some things there that referred to it, convincing me and so forth. It made a big deal, appeared on some shows. Some people thought he was just making stuff up to promote a book, but a 30-year CIA veteran does not go out on a formal lie campaign in order to promote a book. And while it created a bit of a fuss, not long after that, I tried to get him to come to the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, 2013. He made a superb witness for that event. And basically what I learned was he got pulled back.
He had really nice hair, though. Chase had some nice hair.
He's a great guy, and I'm wondering if he doesn't turn up here any day. But he got pulled back, meaning they said, you went too far. So if these guys have gone too far, you could. But this is too heavily orchestrated, too involved. It's way past that. And so if somebody were to slip up and they were to try to bring a hammer down, all that would do is draw even more attention. And so again, they have laid out a whole range of areas for the media to explore. It's kind of like Watergate. Every couple of months, another facet of it would come out and the media would get into it. And then another and another. And it kept the story going and going, and that just builds and builds, putting inexorable pressure on the president, who had to come in front of the American people and basically say, I lied flat out to you.
Well,
and then he had to take had to take a blood test, a DNA match blood test. And then he was impeached. I mean, he paid a heavy price.
Well, back to Chase Brandon, though, I felt from the word go that it was a disinformation move. The story was too perfect, right? The whole thing, the box and how it was revealed and Roswell and what he saw, it just seemed like it was just disinformation. That's the way that I felt. This feels totally different this time around. I mean, we have.
Well, no. This is magnitudes more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I talk to Chase, and everybody's. We should always be suspicious of everything that comes out, because when it comes to the CIA and the Pentagon, nothing is what it seems.
Yeah, I tried to get Chase on the show too, and it just. I just couldn't make it happen. Now, listen, we've got 10 minutes left. How does this help you at Paradigm moving forward? What do you now have a different game plan?
Well, I'm constantly adjusting the circumstances.
Right.
Obviously, I'm going to try to make a contribution. Unlike Tom, I'm missing a couple of $1 million, but that's okay. Tom DeLonge is quarterbacking, I think, the current situation, and I totally support what they're doing and would be happy to help if I could. But in terms of what I can do with what I have, the resources I have, what's coming for me is this. Well, one of the things I'm doing is on paradigmresearchgroup.org website, I'm chronicling or archiving all the links to the media. I've got about 120 articles on the New York Times story, and and I've got another 30 or 40 on the Tom DeLonge to the stars. And I'm continuing to do that. So if you go to paradigmresearchgroup.org and you go to the media archive and just scroll through 2017, you can literally quickly see all of these articles and review them at your leisure. But Here's what I'm going to do. One, I'm going to launch a new Paradigm Research Group site in mid-January. Same URL, same domain, completely renovated. It's pretty cool. And it's going to be much more heavily leaning towards activism. It's going to have a huge amount of graphics. And it's going to be my platform. And it's going to be, a modern site, unlike what I have now, which is a shag rug from the 1970s. It's going to have all the social networking and SEO stuff. So that's going to happen. I return to the U.S. on February 1. I'm going to speak first at the Conscious Life Expo on this subject. Then I'm going to speak at the International UFO Congress Conference in Phoenix. I think that's on the 14th through 18th. The Conscious Life is, I think, 8 through 11 on this subject. I'll probably be at the Sonoma Film Festival, and I have a couple other potential conferences that I may sign on to. And so we're going to do that. There is one other potential major announcement that's in the works, which I won't know about and probably won't be able to announce until mid-February, which, if it comes together, could be a nice, helpful contribution to this. And that's about where I'm at right now. Of course, and I am now publishing and will be putting in the hands of media the interview in Russia from May 3rd to try to stimulate media interest again in the fact that the U.S. is not the only country that can announce this. There's some controversy in that interview, and we'll see. That may generate a little heat. I'm trying to get myself back on the major networks, but it's just not happening. Obviously, Tom and all those people are commanding that, and that's fine. But I haven't been invited back on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox and so forth for years and years. And the reason is pretty straightforward. I am a political activist, and I don't mince words. I'm truth to power guy. And what they want is people to come on and that are willing to hedge their bet. That, alleged phenomena, don't know if it's real yet, all of this, not sure. And that's comfortable for these news shows. I don't do that. I come on and I say flat out, there's an extraterrestrial presence here. Been doing that for 16, 17 years since I first got on national.
Oh, lost you again. Oh, man. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to reset this. That is absolutely bizarre. I'm going to do it like this. Let me do it in real time. Everybody just stay with me. You got to love live radio, and this is coming in from London. So, Steve, are you there? Steve?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. You dropped out. Okay. Can you finish that thought? You were saying...
Yeah, where was I when we dropped?
That you hadn't been invited back on because you've got a big mouth when it comes to politics.
Yeah. I basically just look into the camera and go, there's extraterrestrials here, deal with it. And they don't want to hear that. So I'm working on, getting back. And again, I've got a GoFundMe campaign up, and it's linked on my top of my webpage. But what I can do is very much connected to the kind of resources that I can get. And funding for PRG really dried up when the election happened. And so I'm operating from pretty minimal situation. But that can change at any moment, right? Fact is, you never know. And that's cool. But
I wanted to get your thought on this really quick. There's also this chatter that I know you're familiar with going around out there that this is, now that ISIS is, pretty much defeated and we need a common enemy, and now this is the excuse to move forward in weaponized space and get ready for an alien invasion false flag scenario. What do you think about that?
One, I think that it's perfectly legitimate to be worried about that. The government is capable of it. False flags have happened, no question. So it's legitimate to do that. Two, the people that are pushing or, focusing on that on the internet, pretty much over the top. They're way ahead of their skis. So they need to chill out a little bit. Thirdly, look, remember, this was all coming out of the Pentagon. The program was called the Strategic Aviation Threat Investigation Program. But that's where you're going to get the money. You're not, they have to have a reason to do this, and that is a logical thing. Obviously, it's a potential threat, and so it's always going to be cast under those terms. The Pentagon doesn't have a kumbaya division where they take money to investigate the future for high consciousness in America. It's a defense agency, so it's easy for people to go, "Wow, this is where they're going." I don't think they are. I don't think that's going to happen. But I assure you that if it starts to look that way, that the internet will be fierce in its assessment. Right? There's a couple billion people out there with computers, and a lot of software. They even have software that can do voice analysis and tell you whether some spokesperson is lying or not. The point is that nothing could be more profound than for the military intelligence complex of the United States to try to make a case that the ETs are violent and that we need to defend ourselves against them. If that is true, it is incredibly profound. And if it's not true, it's even more profound. And if it's not true, it'd be a catastrophic mistake on the part of people who still haven't joined the 21st century. They're still living in the past. So I will be fierce in my response, and I know others will. So if they try to do it, I can assure you that if it's not true, if it's false, we will get to the bottom of it. We will, and not to mention the fact that there will be plenty of people inside the military intelligence complex that will be aghast at that will be opposed to that. And I think all bets will be off, and you'll have leaks coming from everywhere. So I just don't expect it. But this has come up many times in my interviews. Here's the deal. If the ETs are a threat, we need to know. And if they're not a threat, we need to know. So it doesn't matter either way. We need to have disclosure. And it needs to be the truth. When you're playing at this level, it's got to be the truth. And the United States is in trouble today because the truth has been tossed aside too many times. Trust is eroding in government. We're grinding to a halt because nobody believes or trusts anybody anymore. This has got to stop, or this country is in deep trouble. Disclosure of the truth with no game playing, no nonsense, would do more to heal that situation and improve than anything I can imagine. I believe the people inside know this. I'm watching the team at Tom DeLonge's operation, and what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is okay. Remember, the Nimitz event, they didn't shoot at them. The ET didn't shoot at them. They watched the stuff go on for days. They intercepted. It went away. They landed. All right? So I invite people to chill out, be cool, and watch how this thing unfolds. And if the government decides to get squirrely about it, be prepared to respond.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And we'll see you in February, 5 weeks, right here in Los Angeles at the Conscious Life Expo. Safe travels, my friend, and keep us posted on everything that you do.
You're the best, Jimmy. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Steven Bassett, everybody. Paradigm Research Group, PRG. All the links are right there at jimmychurchradio.com. He does have a GoFundMe up there. We support that. Thank you so much, Steven. And with that, I'm going to take a quick break, and I'll come back. And you know what? That was an amazing conversation. I know you guys want to talk about it. I'll open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. This is Fade to Black. Thank you, Steven Bassett. Follow him on Twitter at Steve Bassett. I'll be right back.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. GetTheT.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to thank Steven Bassett for coming in strong, by the way. Paradigm Research Group. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. It's a great website, actually. It's kind of funny how he said it was a little antiquated, but the information is there. So there you go. Paradigm Research Group. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. I've opened up the phone lines, 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Let's go straight to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, this is Nathan in Ohio.
Hey, Nathan in Ohio.
All right, so this is what I want to say, and I wanted to tell you, or say this to you since this all broke. The last time I was abducted, I'm pretty sure I was abducted by military personnel. And, well, that's a pretty broad statement. I'm pretty sure they were some kind of human faction. And the point I want to illustrate is if there are things like my labs and things like that going, it's going to be, I mean, I personally don't feel like there'll be full disclosure until people know everything about that. And I wanted to know if you felt the same way.
Well, and Nathan, thank you for the phone call, man. And the lines are jammed up, so I'm gonna answer you off of the air so I can get the rest of these calls in. But let me say, yeah, thank you. When it comes to my labs, let me be very clear on my position. When we know everything that we know now about different government programs that were going on across this country, from MK Ultra and others, that the thought of a scenario of somebody being abducted and seeing, little gray aliens maybe taken to an underground facility, maybe the interior of a ship, all of these, and having that completely orchestrated by the federal government, I'm telling you right now, there is no question that went on. I don't know how much, but absolutely trying to control the message and getting people out there to talk about something that happened to them that they know was real. But, and you could have been drugged up or and not understanding exactly what you were seeing and what was going on. But that scenario, absolutely. As scary, as crazy as that sounds for me to even say it, but could have, yes, absolutely, 100%. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
All right, Jimmy. This is Ken from Irvine. Great show. I was going to go along with Marvin Gaye, where I believe, half of what I see and none of what I hear. And I'm hearing a lot, but I'm not seeing a lot.
How so? I think it's been a pretty extraordinary week. You've never, ever, Ken, you've never seen anything like this in the mainstream media in your life. It's never happened.
Well, I agree. And I saw the Times article and was just, wow, can you believe what they're, But I got to tell you, Jimmy, my biggest fear is like Copperfield and the RNC. Diversion is a fabulous tactic, and this is so big. I'm honestly afraid of what the diversion is. Is this, North Korea and nukes going off? I'm really, really suspicious that this is coming out in the manner it's coming out in.
Yeah, and again, we always need to be cautious of that, right? The flip side to that, and Ken, thank you for the phone call, my friend. That's a great observation. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Is this, we have wanted and asked for recognition through the mainstream media on this very important subject forever. And it's been ignored, and our community has been ignored for a lot of different reasons. And I have warned over and over again that when you read something in the mainstream media, take the story, flip it over 180 degrees, you're going to be closer to the truth. And then you'll understand the message. My message there right now with this week still is the same. It doesn't change. I'm asking the same questions now. I'm asking why. I'm asking who. What is unknown here? We've got we've got Harry Reid, we've got the Pentagon, we've got a warehouse full of debris or stuff. We've got a pilot on the record. We've got videotape. We've got all Bigelow. We've got all of these things slamming all at the same time, and you have to stop and ask yourself, why? What is really going on? So, if we take all of this, and everybody keeps mentioning the New York Times. It's not just the New York Times. It's all of the mainstream media. It's all over the place. So, okay, let's just go with the New York Times. Why? And you flip that story over 180 degrees, all of it, and try to pick that apart. The answers that you will get from that are crazier than if you leave the article sitting alone by itself. So you have to ask yourself why. And I clearly don't have those answers right now. But the other part of it is for us out there that have been dealing with fake news and have been dealing with incorrect media and just crazy narrative coming at us for the last couple of years. This comes along, and now we can't trust the mainstream media. But yet, this is what we've wanted, right? So now what do we do with it? Because we are all now sitting back with the conspiracy of the mainstream media. Who is controlling the media? Who is feeding the media? How is all of this going down? Finally, crying about not having the UFO story in the mainstream media. Why are we being ignored? Now we get it, and now we're unhappy about it. So, again, it doesn't change my story here. It doesn't change my message. You still need to flip it over 180 degrees, examine it, and try to figure out what is exactly going on. And the bigger part, if you really take a look at this, and you look at the bigger part, why do the data dump of everything that is there? It's like too much information, right? TMI. It's just way too much to digest all at the same time. When I said in the beginning, and I really mean this, we've got politics, we've got the military, we've got video, we've got debris, we've got a top secret government or Pentagon project that wasn't supposed to be going on. We have all of the elements here, all in play, all at the same time. When we take a look at the world agenda of everything that is going on, these issues with Russia and Putin and North Korea, certainly the issues that are going on inside of the United States, we have all of these sexual allegations that are going on. Everything is happening, plus all of the natural disasters and things that are going on. And then this gets dropped in normally. And if you go back to my position on all of this just a 30 short days ago, when I was talking about look at how the headlines are getting elevated every single day. How are we going to top the day before? And we've managed to, through the mainstream media, to top the news stories every single day. They just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the last thing that I expected to happen that would trump all of that is aliens are here. Holy crap. Now, and it did not go away. It stayed in the mainstream. It stayed there all the way up to I was on Coast to Coast this weekend, and I shot out pictures in social media that here I am during the show on Coast to Coast, 7 days later, 7 days, and there it is live on the mainstream. There's Dave Fravor doing interviews. There's another story that was running. It ran three different times during 3 hours on Coast. And it's live feeding into our media stream in the studio. We keep the media running during a live broadcast like that. Why? The reasons are obvious. We have a very, very large audience. Breaking news happens all the time. How many times have I been on Coast where I had to cover very important, significant news events that were breaking at that time? So I've got the media running. I've got all the outlets, and just in case, it's all running right there. And boom, what do I have? And I've been doing Coast now. This is my 4th year on Coast. I've never had UFO coverage at Coast. Never had it. I've had everything else, man. I've had ISIS. I've had shootings. I've had bombings. I've had plane crashes. I've had all kinds of things break. Earthquakes, breaking during Coast. I've never had UFO coverage. And I had it for 3 straight hours. I can't explain it. So now, like I said last week, and I mean this, what we need to do is sit back and enjoy the moment and glow. The significance of all of this and what is coming next is what is coming next. Steven Bassett said it perfect tonight. They've got it all set up now with Reid and the Pentagon and gun camera footage and warehouse full of alien artifacts to keep this story going. It's going to continue. I don't know what's going to happen next. Let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. My name's Kyle. First time caller.
Okay. What was your name again? Yeah, I got you. What was your name?
Kyle. Kyle.
Oh, Kyle. How are you, Kyle?
Yeah. I am good, sir. I was just calling because you guys are talking about all kinds of angles that nobody's talked about, and the one I've never heard so far is the R2 Dogs Incorporated angle. Have you heard about that?
No. What is it? Our Two Dogs Incorporated. No, what is that?
R2 Dogs Incorporated is a little holding company owned by Tom DeLonge that actually funded $600,000 to the Stars Academy.
Right. Okay. Yeah, now I know what you're talking about. It was 400,000, by the way. It wasn't 6.
Oh, because the investment paperwork said 600. Not bad.
No, if you go back and look, I unless they've updated it, but originally it was a $400,000 loan. Yes, by Tom.
Okay. What's interesting, though, is if Tom actually pulls this all off, history is going to show that it was funded by a hot dog stand, which, oddly enough, if you read the Secret Machines books, all of the Bell Black projects were funded by secret little holding companies held by consortiums.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's almost like he's mirroring what he's talking about.
Right. Well, and you're right about that. If you want to take that view is easy, and it's right there in front of you. But let's not ignore this. This is the United States. You start a company with money from somewhere, and in this case, To the Stars Academy happened from Tom. I don't care if you borrow, and Kyle, love you, man. You go and you start a company, you go to your parents, they give you a loan, and what does your dad say to you? Okay, man, I want my money.
When am I getting my money back?
Yeah, when am I getting my money back? And in this case, with DeLonge, he's absolutely right, man. He gets paid back. And that's that's the way it should be. Yeah. So I don't know.
No. I'm in agreement. I'm just thinking it's actually the allegory is amazing.
Yeah, the allegory, the metaphor there is too cool and too accurate. If you go back,
astounding.
Did you listen to any of my reporting on Pokemon Go?
Unfortunately, I did not. I was not around for that part. I've kind of caught the show off and on over the past 4 years.
Right.
And sometimes, because of my work schedule, like right now, I come into the show at 9 p.m. every night.
Okay.
So I normally end up listening to it on the website.
Fair enough.
Go to bed late.
But Pokemon Go, if you back up off of Pokemon Go and you look at the history of it and where it is today, but where it actually came from, okay, and I'm not joking about this, and it's in the public domain. If you want to go and do the research, you can do it. Just Google search Pokemon Go CIA. All right? That's all you got to do. The original funding, as you back off of Pokemon Go, and the CEO of the company, and how it goes back into Google, back before Google, all the way back to the original Iraq War and the GPS systems used for guided bombs. All of that, the GPS in your car today, right? You've got navigation in your car. All of that ties into Pokemon Go and goes back to the CIA funding through
It actually goes back before ARPANET.
No. Stay with me. The original funding was from the CIA venture capital wing that invested into GPS technology that ended up turning into, are you sitting down? Google Earth. Google Maps, Google was CIA-funded money. That technology went all the way to, and it's the same company that is Pokemon Go today, and the way that you went around fighting your little Pokemon wars, and you're being guided into a park, and now the ability to turn on and off your camera on your cell phone and record video all inside of the game, which is controlled by people that you don't even know. All of this is CIA-funded money from the very, very, very get-go. And you never know where the seed money, what it ends up ultimately turning into. That technology went all the way from guided bombs to Google Earth, Google Maps, all the way through to Pokemon Go. Same CEO, same dude. Go into his office. You're going to see CIA plaques, Employee of the Year, sitting behind his desk. And I'm not making any of this stuff up. I can't even be sued because it's all true. So when we look at all
public domain,
yeah. So when you're talking about the hot dog stand scenario, you're absolutely right. But that's and you could do that with just about anything, and that's what's really funny about it. So how did you? Let me ask you this: how did you find Fade to Black?
Oddly enough, I found it because I've been kind of into the thing ever since about 1999 when a Blink-182 documentary came out called Urethra Chronicles.
Oh, yeah, right.
And Tom was talking about his love of aliens and his passion for it. And he himself was joking in the documentary, as well as even the next one, Urethra Chronicles Part 2.
Right.
What people didn't really pay attention to was the piles of books he had. And that's when I kind of looked up and went, what's going on here? So I started looking into it myself and had the same questions and kind of got sucked into it from there. And I've been through the entire turmoil of the Blink drama as well as everything else. And all I can say is that I'm kind of glad that Tom's doing what he's doing in the end. I understand it. To that note, because I know you're a fan of music, Start the Machine by Angels and Airwaves.
Right.
There was a song about the breakup of Blink, but if you listen to it now with everything that's gone on, it's very double meaning. Very double entendre.
Yeah, and this is, I'll be very straight with you. I've said if I had all the money in the world, right, I win the lottery, right, $500 million, the windfall. What do I do with that? Well, first off, I go back to college, right? I'd go down to USC. I'd build the Fade to Black library. Right, I'd give them that to make sure that right, so I can go back to school. They'll let me in. I would go and get my education on. But you know what else I would do? I would do exactly what Tom is doing. I would do exactly that. So yeah. I mean, why not? If that's where your passion is, and you have the ability to pull these people together, and you have to have money. You have to have money to do this, that $400,000 that we were just talking about. You have to have all of that going for you, but he does. He does. Don't hold it against him, man. Let him do his thing. Let him.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, let him drive this car till it's.
The thing is, I'm not holding it against him. I'm hoping that people who are will drop that.
Absolutely.
It's he's proven himself. I mean, it's like he said in his tweets, man. I've had 42 days. I was right there with him. I looked up, man. I get you, Tom.
Well, thank you for the phone call, and don't be a stranger.
Never.
Yeah, thank you. And
never. Thank you.
It was Lyle, right?
Kyle.
Sorry about that, brother. All right, we'll see you later on this week, and if we don't see each other, have a great, safe New Year's.
You too, Jimmy.
Have
a good night.
Absolutely. Kyle, first-time caller right there. And all of this rings true. Okay, when we go back and look at the paperwork that Tom, because this is public, this is a public company and there's shares and the FTC is involved. All of that is public information now. And I don't know if we go and analyze all of the attempts at UFO research and how things have been funded and I don't think it's ever been done like this. And to have it all out there, Tom doesn't. I would think, and I started to do the math on this because I was looking at his the paperwork for the funding, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. He didn't have to ask for money. He could have funded this entire project probably out of his own pocket. I don't think that his financial advisors would say that was a wise use of his money, but he's in a position that he doesn't have to do this. Same thing with Bigelow, by the way. Bigelow doesn't, he's sitting on the money that he has, and it doesn't have to be public, right? But Tom took another avenue here. He made everything public. And when you go to the Stars Academy, go to the page, click on the team, and I know this just right now, today, 2 weeks into this, well, since October 11th, into this, a couple of months, that it's something that we're almost used to now. But Tom's people are there. The photographs are there. Their headshots are there. Their history, their work history, who they are, and what they are contributing is all right there on To the Stars Academy. It's never been handled like this before. You know, I've got to tell you, we're all used to this. And in the words of Steven Bassett, I'll just lay it out there. Well, I'm going to lay it out there right now. There has been so many documentaries, so many interviews, so many people coming forward with a whistleblower at the Pentagon that they can't name. They need to hide. They can't come forward, and that's where the credibility in the media's eyes falls short. We can't move forward like that. And now, for the first time, we have exactly that. You can just go right there and look. And the people that are involved are serious. It's another thing to say, everybody. I'm just going to put it out there. It's one thing. You know what, man? I've got a guy, from Skunk Works that's involved. Well, who is it? Well, I can't say his name, but well, you know what? The conversation kind of stops right there. I've got somebody from the CIA, and he's been feeding me this information. What's his name? Can't give you his name. Well, you know what? It stops. I've got a friend, high level in the Air Force, man, and well, what's his name? I can't. Well, you know what? That's not the case now. This is a whole nother situation, everybody, that we are dealing with. I don't know how it moves forward, but I can tell you this, to have it all publicly out there like that, this is why the mainstream media can publish these stories, because now they can vet the people and the names and the history and what is going on. That's why it's in the mainstream media. It was never like this before. That's why. When anybody wonders, why would the mainstream media do? Well, now because the mainstream media can go and vet the sources. And all of the mainstream media, all of the news is published by committee. So you've got a story, you go in and you put it on the table, and you've got an attorney over here and an attorney over here and a news director over here and an editor over here. And they're looking at, and they go, okay, well, can you vet these sources? Yes, we can. Luis Elizondo is here. Steve Justice is here. Mellon is here. Dave Fravor is here. We've got all of, and Tom DeLonge's history is out there. And so it's something that they can go and vet and look at the background and look at all of this. And the video is a solid video. That's why it goes. That's why it's in the mainstream media. And that's why it will continue to have legs. Never before in the history of anything, when it comes to the subject of UFOs, has this happened. It's just done. I am just so excited. And that's my position. I don't know where we go from here. I have no idea. I have no secret information. I don't know what's coming out next week. I don't know if there's another video drop. I don't know. I don't know if another pilot's coming forward. I don't know if this debris that is in Las Vegas, we're going to see pictures and images and videos of it. I brought this up with Steven, and I want to make this clear. Is this a piece of metal, or is it an actual object? Is it a communicator? I don't know. Is it a pair of E.T. shoes from Zeta Reticuli? I don't know. I don't. Is it a piece of an instrument panel? I don't know. I don't know. It's exciting times. Tomorrow night, right here, the one and only Lisa Garr on Fade to Black, continuing. Because we're at the end of the year, we've got to take a look at 2018. And that's what we're going to do tomorrow night, Awakening with Lisa Garr. It's going to be a great conversation. Great week that we have this week on Fade to Black. Stay with us. It's only going to get better. All the way through to Fader Night. And Jeff Harmon's going to be here. We're going to do a full night of predictions for 2018. I want to thank Steven Bassett, PRG, Paradigm Research Group. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me right now on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster, Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night, Lee Cigar right here. I want everybody to be safe. Go back, Leaks Happy.